Right, welcome back to Hooner's Garage. Probably one of the shorter intros today. Carrying on with the clocks for the TZR on those fascias. I've got them hanging up ready to go, so let's crack on and do that. Right, so I've actually been here for a while, and as you can see, I've sanded this down through the different layers already. And that's because when I got here, I realised there wasn't enough charge in the phone. So a little bit of a tidy up, although I appreciate it doesn't actually look like there's been that much of a tidy up, but a bit of a tidy up. And then sand these down to make sure they're all nice and smooth. Ready to carry on with painting these. So I'm a little bit ahead because you're a little bit behind because numpty here forgot to charge the phone. But there they are, they're sanded down, ready for paintage. But first I've got to get nail varnish remover. If it'll focus in on it, there we go. Nail varnish remover and kitchen towel, and dry, make sure there's no greasy fingerprints or anything else like that left on that before we start painting. Right, first coat, it's only a light coat, so the it's sort of like a pre-coat. I don't know, I was watching Del Boy videos, which is how I'm learning to paint, from rattle cans, and it's the first one. It's like, so it floats out, there's big globules of paint on that, and you want them to float out, to sort of spread out and join together. So you do a light coat first, which is that. So 15 minutes for that, and then we'll put on the next coat. So while we're waiting for that to go, I've got, actually this is the wet and dry paper, I've got the side pods and the front mudguard for the TZR here. I am missing, there's a little plastic cover that goes there. I had two of them, and now I can't find one of them. So from the shed to the move from the shed to here, I seem to have lost them. So that's a bit of a pain in the ass. But while I'm waiting for that to finish drying, I can start. I already made a start with these before, sanding them down, ready for paint. But we're getting nearer that stage again. So just as something to do to keep everything moving, start sanding that down again. I've got a bucket of water, wet and dry. Crack on. Right, first top coat, well, first proper top coat other than the light dusting. So that's coat number 2. And again, timer on 15 minutes, and we'll come back for that. I've got one of the side panels hanging up at the moment. I've sanded that down with 800 grit. So that is now feeling nice and smooth. I don't know if you have to take all of this off, or whether I can just prime it and paint it with this on there. The other one, which is down there, that has actually, most of that came off quite easily, as happens the first time when I started to sort these out. So I've already started these once, didn't finish them, now I'm finishing them off. That one almost did come off. Do I need to return that to that state, or can I just primer it with that on it, and then spray it, and primer that, and then spray it? I don't know, I'll have to find out, or maybe one of you lovely people will tell me. But yeah, that's done with 800 grit so far. I've got 1200. I don't know whether or not I'm going to need to go to 1200 actually, unless of course I do have to take all of this off, in which case I might go to something a bit more coarse to get the rest of the paint off. But yeah, that's smooth. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I've got the mudguard in the water, wet and dry. There we go. So crack on with that. Right, so it's focusing. God, that doesn't. Okay, that's the next coat on. It's just going to be laying up more of this, so it's more of the same really. It's about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 coats maybe, and then I can take it down and smooth it out, because I don't think I've got out all the imperfections. Although in this camera it doesn't actually quite pick up what I mean. I don't know what it's going to come out like, but I can see it, but I think that's just where its reflection is, where it's wet. So I don't know what's coming out on the camera, but there are a few imperfections in there that I'm going to need to smooth out, I guess. So we'll take 8 coats and then sand it down with some 1200, I guess. So there we go. So I'm not going to bother recording me painting this, or me just coming in and going, right, so there you go, there's another coat done. So I'll just carry on and do that. All 3 of the panels I have all been sanded down 800 grit wet and dry, so they're all really smooth. I've got 1200. I don't know if I need to go to 1200 for prep. I don't think so. Then it's just whether or not I can paint. I can't see why I can't just primer over that and then paint, but I'm not a professional, as that's obvious. So if anybody can tell me why I can't, then I'll just do it like that and let's just see what happens. So there we go. So time to crack on with that. There you go, all four together. Right, I'm at the top end of the driveway now because I want to start taking some of this horrible green paint off of this tank. So angle grinder, flappy disc, gloves, orbit protection, ear protection. I've got it all the way up here because down there in there I've got the paint, the clock fascias drying, hanging up while I've been painting them, and I think this may create a bit of dust and I don't want it going in there, so I've come all the way up here to try and get it as far away from that as possible. So first things first, I have got some nitromorse, but I don't like using it. It's not very nice stuff, and apparently it's a pain in the ass to get rid of once you've done it, so we'll start with that. So this is with the flapper disc. I've got some damage there I hadn't noticed before. We'll have to refill that, so I need to get some filler for that. And this is after about 15 minutes. So it's going to take a while. It's not quick with the flapper disc, but you don't have any nitromorse left over, which, so what it does, it works. It gets the paint off, but it gets caught in places. You've got to make sure you get every single little bit of it out. One little bit stays. You try and paint it, it dries, it becomes dormant. You then get wet again. When you paint it, it becomes active again, and then that's it, paint job ruined. So yeah, I think the angle grinder and the flapper disc is the way to go. Well, this is smelly, dirty and horrible. Probably easier with the nitromorse to actually get the paint off, but not easy to deal with it afterwards. And then this is just going to be a rub down. But yeah, I didn't know there was that damage there, just an indent there, so we'll have to deal with that as well. So there we go. Right, so that's the final coat on. You can see now that there are some imperfections in it just there and around here, but some of that, as you can see, it's the final coat, so some of that is just reflection from the shiny. It is satin black, so it should matte out just a tad. But that is this, actually it's only this bit really where the LED holes are on here that's going to show, because there's going to be the white cover over the top. So it's only this bit that needs to be mint, because you're never going to see that bit. So I guess what I'm going to need to do is get the 1200 on that once it's dried, flatten that out. You can see some more imperfections there. Flatten that out a bit as well, make it look pretty. Right, so unfortunately out of time. Did manage to get quite a few coats put on the there's two clock fascias, that's the bottom one. So whether the clocks go in, those bits haven't got to be perfect, because the outside fascia is going to go over there, it's going to be in white. So it's only the bit at the bottom that surrounds the keyhole and the LED lights that has to look as good as it can. So next time I'm at it, I know that it's got to dry properly, get some 1200 wet and dry on it and smooth it out a bit, just to see if we can make it look half decent. Start stripping the tank down. That's going to take a while if I do it with the angle grinder and the flapper disc. I could use nitromorse, but I don't think I'm going to bother, because I've used that stuff before and I don't get on with it. You have to be 100% sure that you've got every single little bit out of every single little nook and cranny, otherwise it's a pain in the backside. So we may well just carry on, just get some more flapper discs. I can pick them up cheap from the local hardware store, pound shop, so they're fairly cheap to get through, and just go through that. I'm not leaving it exposed. I've just given it a light spray with some AC90, which is equivalent to WD-40, just to protect it, to stop it from rusting. I've managed to get these pieces sanded down with 800 grit. They do feel really smooth, really smooth. So I don't know if I need to go over those again with a 1200, or whether 800 is fine, and whether or not I have to take that right the way back down to the plastic underneath, whether I can just primer it as it stands and then just paint it from there, which would be handy, because it does feel, there's no imperfections in there. That feels really nice. So there we go. Hopefully going to get out here tomorrow. Hopefully Joe's going to be with me for for that as well, and we're probably going to work on fudge. So I'll see you tomorrow. So ride safe. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.